Good evening, everyone, and thank you to the Somers Town Board work session starting here at 7:01 on Thursday, October 5th, 2023. Before we start our meeting, I'll make a motion to open up public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Can I make a comment before public
Yeah,
comment?
sure, go ahead.
I just want to,
2 minutes.
well, that's what I get at. So we have public comment every meeting, and we like hearing from the public. We don't necessarily know what the topics are going to be. We limit it to 3 minutes. And one of the reasons we limit each person to 3 minutes is we have agendas. Sometimes they're short, sometimes they're long. Sometimes we have applicants out there with professionals with them who they're paying. And, you know, we had an instance a couple weeks ago where somebody came up and spoke for 10 minutes and was ready to go longer. And quite honestly, if we have 20 people speaking for 10 minutes each, we're never going to get to the agenda in the business of the board. The information that people come up with, we're not prepared to necessarily answer because we're not going to go off without having correct information. And so that's how come when people come to public comment, we don't always respond because we need to look into what you're asking. And I for one, and I think most of the others, we're not just going to say yes, no, or give opinions if we don't have our experts here on that topic, if we're not fully vetted on the information, because it does a disservice to us, it does a disservice to the town. But that's why we do 3 minutes. I will say this, I'll speak for myself, but I think I speak for everybody. If there's something that needs to be longer, you're always welcome to call the supervisor's office and see if we can get it on the agenda, if it's something that's big, and then we'll have an actual agenda session on it, and we can plan for it, we can have the experts here. Or if you want to stay till the end of the meeting, sometimes we could stay for a while and listen as well. Again, we want to limit it. You can't because we closed it already? No, I'm saying keep the meeting going. Yeah, keep the meeting going.
Always keep the meeting.
Yeah, we can always keep
and-
the meeting
and-
going. But I want to understand,
Sorry
we're
for
not up here trying to silence the masses. We're saying that we have business of the town that needs to get taken care of. It's unfair to applicants who get put on it, and these are citizens, and these are developers, and these are all sorts of different people who, they call the supervisor's office and say, we want to talk about stop signs. We put it on the agenda. And it's unfair to have them have to wait hours and hours if we have to. We've had times, and we usually are pretty lenient.
We usually are.
I don't think we've ever limited anybody to 3 minutes.
No,
But it's when it's when you have one person who goes for 10 or 15, and then the next person comes up and says, well, that person went for 10 or 15, and all of a sudden you're not getting the business of the town done. So we're all here to listen to everybody. Sometimes it's a timing issue. So if it's a huge item, please reach out to the supervisor. More than happy to put it onto an agenda or have a meeting with the supervisor and one member here, which we're allowed to do. We're not allowed to have a quorum at any sort of individual meetings. But I wanted to explain that just because last meeting we're trying to be nice, and it's like we're coming down with an iron fist. We're just being cognizant of the other people who are here, the other people who are on the agenda. So I surpassed my 3 minutes.
You did.
So I apologize.
Time is up.
But
Patty Dingham, bing.
yeah, there you go.
Okay.
It should be like the Gong Show.
But again, I want
Take
to
'em
put
out.
that out there after, we've been on the board all of us have been on the board for years, and that's always sort of an issue that we have. So.
Yeah, I mean, Tom's point. We love hearing from the public. We love the public comment. We try to make this as professional as possible. There are people who've waited months to be on the agenda. But like Tom said, we do want to hear from the public. And if it's going to be, if we see that there's going to be something that's taking a little bit longer, we can always move the public comment to later in the work session or when we're at. So.
And I can
that's
also
all.
speak for the five of us. There's many times where somebody catches us at the store or at the park, and they talk to us. And I think we're all fine, and we listen, and we like to have a exchange. But we're all pretty readily available for discussions of anything that you like. We may not agree, but we're certainly readily available to talk.
Well, thanks, Tom.
Yep.
Is anybody here for public comment? Please come on up.
There we go.
I use it all the time, so you.
Egg timer, 3 minutes.
If you would just state your name and.
Sure. Barbara Tepper, President of the Board of Trustees of the Somers Library. First, I would love to thank you for acknowledging Bill Keene and Joanne DeMays. We are really excited about them coming on board.
Are they here?
And that, yes, Joanne and
Okay.
Beautiful.
they are both here.
Very nice.
Thank you.
And if there is, and we're all very excited about the teen room, the teen space that's going to be created, and the upgrades to the building in general. If there is anything that the library could do to help the town, please do not hesitate to contact us. Either me or Jennifer Daddio, the library director. I mean, we are getting, I'm not 100% sure if the generator is fully functioning yet, but it could be an additional place for people to shelter in an emergency.
Yeah, that was.
So please do not hesitate to contact us with whatever we can do to help the town out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know that you have, and this is. I don't think we've ever done this before, but you guys are on here. If you guys want to come up, Joanne and Bill, and you
Come on.
want to say,
Yeah.
introduce
Come on up.
yourself and
Come on
give
up.
yourself for public.
Prepared remarks. Yeah.
If you want to come up for 3 minutes and say,
And introduce yourself.
and just
The whole world is watching. It's not a problem.
Go ahead.
CNN is covering this event.
Been going on in Washington.
How do I?
There's nothing out in the world. No.
Hi, I'm Joanne DeMace. I've been a town resident for over 10 years. I love the library. I've always loved the library. My son's finally at the age where he doesn't want me around as much, so I thought to get involved. And
What age is that? I'm just curious.
he's
One up, I'm ahead or behind the curve?
12.
he's 12. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
That's about right. All right.
Oh,
All right.
So I just wanted to get more involved in the town and the community now that I have some free time.
Well,
well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Bill?
I'm glad you went first because I'm going to use the same reasoning. Right. I've lived here for 29 years. I live in Bill's old neighborhood. We saw each other socially many, many times, and on the soccer field many times. Right. The after party. And the after parties, right? Although we forget some of them. Right. But my reasoning is the same. I love the library, and you know, my children are big, and you know, I've been volunteering for things in this town for a long time, and you know, the library called and I answered.
oh, we appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah. Thanks.
Favors, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate you guys stepping up.
Yeah, just do what's best and do what's right. And that's the only direction you'll need.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody? Thank you.
Barbara?
I just have a question. Maybe I should just ask Denise. There's on the agenda, it lists a vacancy, an upcoming vacancy for one 5-year position ending in 2023. And I can't imagine who that is because we all came on board at the same time.
But there might be a carryover.
Might be a carryover.
Somebody.
We have
Somebody else.
Somebody filling someone
someone
else's
filling in
term,
someone else's term.
like that.
Right. I'm sure.
I'll have to.
Come on at the same time.
I'll check with Denise to see
Yes.
who that is. That person.
We
I'll
don't want everybody at the same time because
No,
it-
no.
somebody says, I don't want to.
No.
Well, you.
No. I was just curious. Okay, I'll check with Denise on that. All right, change caps. All right,
Can I ask you a
Barbara.
question about the library then?
Huh?
Can I ask you a question about the library?
Of course.
Yes, before you change your hat. So I was in the library last night, and the air conditioning wasn't working so well, and I happened to
Nightmare.
bothered.
It's a nightmare. We will have
How
issues.
What do we need?
We are having issues. The owner of Suco had come, and I believe Rob, you
Yep,
were there
there as
too.
well.
Yeah. We just may need a whole new, different kind of system. Jennifer would like to simplify it, and I agree with her on that, that this one is very complicated in terms of adjusting the different zones in the building, and that she would just like a very simple system with different thermostats in each area. I know, our last board meeting, we were literally wilting from the heat in the reading room because
Yeah.
it doesn't work there. And it's
I know he said he was going to do deep dive into the system to make sure, be cognizant of funds and making sure that he can do it without breaking the bank, which I appreciated for
Yes,
Suska.
that's a big issue. Yes, that is a big issue.
And I know he was supposed to call me and follow up with me and Jennifer about.
Jennifer's on vacation this week.
Nice. But as soon as he gets that, we'll be able to have some more information and kind of solve that problem. 'Cause I know it's been an issue.
Hopefully. And we're also looking to do an engineer survey of the building to see, to ensure that the building is protected in the event of a major disaster, like a tornado should hit Reese Park and trees go flying and come through the windows. What could we do to mitigate the damage? So, and there's also that emergency exit at the back of the building
Right.
where the concrete is all broken up.
Ready.
And it's a mess, and God forbid people need to use that emergency exit. It really, I've been saying this for months, the concrete needs to be redone and lead a clear path away from the building.
Mean for the water to go?
No, for the people to get out. For people to get out, because just beyond that door is the pit
Right.
for the downstairs.
Right.
And God forbid people should just run straight out and go over the wall, which they could. We don't want that.
Let me just say also, Tom and I have been here for 16 years. Everybody else has been here a long time, except for the Rook over here. And it's the capital infrastructure in that library.
It's
Right.
horrible.
I mean, it's like
It's a nightmare. It is.
heat, cooling, and water.
That's why
As-
I want us to
Let's-
have an engineer
right.
survey of the building and how can we make this building better
Yeah.
and prevent these ongoing issues.
Every time we spent money,
About 10 minutes ago, just so
Yeah.
you know, these are items that we're not vetted for yet.
I know. And
Well past 3
we
minutes.
sort of got off topic. All right, can I change caps?
No.
no.
No, it's just a quick one. We support the stop signs in Heritage Hills.
Yep, that's on the agenda.
On the-
I know, because I go walking and it's like I got a piece of oak tag and I'm going to make a big red sign. Slow down.
That's
People take those.
Talking about it.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Come on up.
Go right ahead. Go for it, Kay. Go for it.
Good evening. My name is Kay Brancato, and I am the Vice President of Condo 20. I am here on behalf of our President, Alan Tepper, to thank you in advance for taking our request for the stop signs so seriously. We feel we have done a lot of research, and those intersections are just an accident waiting to happen. We're trying to be proactive, not reactive, and we truly hope that you can see the way clear to approve our stop signs. And I thank you very much, and I don't think I took 3 minutes.
You did not take
you-
it near, and I thank you.
Very concise.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Chris Novell, and I've lived in the town for over 35 years. And before I go into my topic, actually, what you said, Tom, about describing how to keep the size of the communication small and the reasons why, perhaps that's something that could be explained on the town website.
Sure.
And that would be good for you folks. It would be good for the ones that are envisioning having lots of chive.
I will put something together.
Yep.
Thank you.
So my topic is I'm here proactively, that I've done some thinking about something, and a few thoughts came together in my head. I live on a tertiary street, and there are several signs on it, one of which is really old, and it says something about being a neighborhood watch.
Okay.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know. And I don't know even what that means.
Means it's an old sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's another sign, which is more recent, and interestingly, for what has already been mentioned in other comments, that other sign says slow. And so it seems interesting, right? You know, what those two signs could be about. So what I would like to suggest, not just based on those two signs in my street, is that organizationally, you have the structure of the town with the various departments. You have the established organizations that we well know about that are years and years old. And you have things that tend to be a number of towns, you know, the support and interest group organizations, and they serve valuable purposes. I would like to suggest that, and I might not completely know, and it could vary from place to place in town, I would like to suggest that there's a need for a more localized focus, to think closer to a neighborhood. And there are several reasons for doing that, one of which could be the really challenging situations that could be weather related. There could also be informational things about what's happening there. I have given a lot of thought about, hearing that there could be a bear wandering around. What's the information flow about that? And there could be some nice social things that could be happening more locally too. And you could be familiar that, there's considered to be an epidemic of loneliness, which they take very seriously. And to mention very quickly a few other things, there's a whole list that I put together, but the value of having a more neighborly, geographically focused could include things like who has the Narcan available nearby for a fentanyl overdose. Because there are the official resources, but the 33 square miles, where might they be when there's a call like that? There could be a wandering person that has Alzheimer's, and someone now needs help to figure out where that person is. And by the way, the nature of the town is that some parts are very densely populated, and they even have a lot of organization and structure of their own. And there's other parts that have less population, and yet could need resources and more connectivity in different ways. So I introduced that as a topic to think about more. And one other thing is not necessarily for there to be a lot of approaches that are top-down from here. Some could and should be thought of and done through top-down, but there's other things that could happen that are more organically created bottoms-up by encouraging neighborhoods to have more connectivity and giving them some examples of how to do that.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you can put that into an email,
I was
send it.
going to say
Great.
the same thing. I would love for you to send it to me.
Great.
If you could. Supervisor at Somers NY. And just some of the thoughts and ideas that you just shared would be great in an email. We get a lot of things that come before us in our emails and stuff like that when we hear good ideas and makes us think outside the box or just makes us think about other ways what other people are thinking. And I'm sure you're not the only person who's thinking it. But you and I appreciate you coming in here and sharing your thoughts, and if you could send it to me, it'd be great.
Rob,
Thank you so much.
Chris, are you
Maybe-
signed
maybe-
up for the town's alert system, Code Red?
The Code Red.
Are you signed up for that?
Yes.
So that I was just thinking that you were saying about a bear, and that is a situation where there has been Code Red set out. So at least we can do.
Yeah.
That could-
And there might be one other thing to add then.
Just signed up for the
There can be
text messaging.
there are examples of how high tech might not be reliable, and so there could be other ways of doing things, and so there could be low tech. And I have a few thoughts on, how to have the low tech happen as well. But, I see some gaps of what could happen locally.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank
Appreciate it.
Rob, maybe you can invite Chris to the community council meetings that are quarterly. She can
Yeah.
get a feeling of, all the support organizations
Do that.
that are in place, and,
She doesn't hear you.
yeah, I know, that's all. But
Okay. Anybody else here for public comment? Come on up.
Hey, Tom. Good, how are you? Haven't seen you in a while.
I haven't broke chops in a while, so.
Well-
I'm Smith, 15 Carpenter Place. I've been a resident of Shannon Rock for 30 years. I'd like to know why we got 3 speed bumps and a stop sign. So I really couldn't tell you the name of the roads. You got Lakeview, you got 2 speed bumps that are very aggressive. And I couldn't tell you the name of the street because there are no signs. And Forest, very aggressive. And you put 2 stop signs up. I seen it in the record, but the name of the street, Lakeview and Cypress. Go to that intersection. It is not marked. If you come in from Overhill, that's Shannon Rock Drive. As you come, bless you, as you come around the turn by the clubhouse, that's Hillamdale. That's not marked. When you come down where Cypress is, that's marked Cypress and Hillamdale. But on the opposite side, there's no marking. That continuation turns into Cypress. You got Ryan, you got Spring, you got Mervyn, and then you got Lakeview. No Cypress. So you did us an injustice because you put that in the paper, but nobody knew where that intersection was. So we couldn't come here to comment on it. And I'd like to know why those speed bumps. I've been here 30 years. I haven't heard of 1 pedestrian struck, 1 ped struck, an accident. Now, by you putting those speed bumps in, I live on Carpenter, top of the hill. Starting about 3 o'clock in the morning, you got these people, 3 o'clock in the morning, like a rocket ship up the hill. Somebody, right through Ty Road. So what's going to happen there?
So
So you're saying it
you're saying the speed bumps have now turned
diverted traffic?
diverted traffic towards the top of the hill.
Yes, and that very aggressive hill, so they're shooting up that hill. Now you got pets out, 4 o'clock in the morning, you got people walking their dogs, and the bumps are very aggressive. I don't know if you've ever been into Shannon Rock.
Been through there plenty of times.
Have you gone over the speed bump?
I have.
I think they're comparable to the ones that we put up in Lake Lincoln years ago in front of
Okay.
the lake over there.
And I think in Purdy's as well.
If you will insist on having those speed bumps there, I think you should put up no truck signs, because the quality of life now, you get a roll-off, you get any truck that goes over these bumps, the 2 of them, forget about it. So I'd like to invite anybody here to come to my house and have the town take their tandem dump truck and go over those 2 bumps so you could hear what it sounds like. And I feel bad for those people who got those bumps put in front of their house. How would you like that?
So I know.
Want to put,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
So the speed bumps are for the summer months. I believe they come out.
Why? We never had them.
No, you haven't. You haven't.
All of a sudden.
But there's
Up here
been a
30
precedent.
days.
Tom was saying there's been a precedent that we had in the lake communities to combat speeding.
Okay, you're worried about the lake community. What about the homeless guy who lived in the park over there?
Is he there anymore?
By the water pump.
Is he
by
there?
the pump house? He was.
He was. Is he there anymore?
No, but there's no signs either.
Thank you. He's not there anymore.
No, because they caught him in Yorktown. Otherwise, he's
Either way, you're
yeah.
going off topic here.
No, I'm not, because you're worried about the neighborhood. Let's get our concerns priorities.
Well,
About all these homeless people, we don't want to have them start, so we got to put signs up, do something. Because when the police were called, they said they can't do nothing because there's no signs for them to enforce it.
Well, thank you for your comment.
I'm not done.
yeah, well, you're going to be done in about 30 seconds.
Give me a little more, because I haven't
2
been here.
minutes. We just had a whole conversation before you got in here.
I heard the woman was here, so give me a few minutes. If you want to put stop signs up, okay, on Green, between High and Miller, there's no stop sign at that corner of Miller and Green. So if you're going down Green, going towards Miller, by the time you realize there's a street there, you're in the middle of it. The same thing with Wright. You come from, I believe that street there is Lakeview, because that, again, is not marked. Going up to Miller, by the time you realize you're at Miller, you're in the middle of it. Now, if you're driving a truck and you continue to Bridge, and you go around Bridge, and you make the right on Miller, there's a culvert or whatever it is. So, I don't know how a truck hasn't flipped over. And for a tractor trailer to come in and around, you can't make those turns. And if you come in the opposite way, you got another one there. So if we want to be aggressive about things, worry about looking forward, well, that's an accident waiting to happen. Now, if you guys are really worried, why don't we go after whoever's doing the peel outs in the neighborhood at 1 o'clock in the morning? All over Shamrock, there's skid marks. And it's not that difficult to find where they're coming from. Because if you follow them, it goes right to a driveway.
Well, if you have, I can't.
Jobs have been called. They've been there. And it still continues.
Well, we can.
1 o'clock in the morning, you know, they're out there.
As far as your traffic concerns, you know, if you could put those in an email or on paper, it's hard to envision them all here, and you know, we can send.
But you got people taking notes. Take a ride through Shamrock. I shouldn't have to tell you what the town needs.
All
I
the.
shouldn't have to come here and tell you.
I think the
You're
people,
thinking what you
people
think the
from
town
Generock
totally
will
agree.
come.
Give somebody directions to your house. They're lost. Oh yeah, go down Shamrock Drive.
Well, the street signs are a totally different issue, and this is what I'm saying. We'll talk to the highway superintendent,
Yeah.
ask about the street signs, and get street signs.
What about-
That's the case. That's that's an easy fix, if that's the case. Well, we'll talk to the highway.
Yeah, let's get rid of them because there's no reason for them. Unless we have somebody new in the neighborhood that's complaining.
Get rid of what?
Maybe you do. I don't know.
You know, I've been here 30 years.
No, I'm talking.
Are
I'm
you-
talking about.
I think
are you having-
matters more than
Guys, we're
Okay.
talking about two different things here. We're talking about signs to know where your street is, and I think you're talking about the speed bump.
Well, why don't you come there and check it out?
What, the speed bumps?
The speed bump.
I've been over the speed bumps plenty of times.
Like we said, it's not a. It's
Come
not.
to my house full
yeah.
all of you. I'll get a sandwich, wedge,
what you're serving.
and have the town go buy it. And you'll listen. How would you like to listen to that all day? Roll up going by, truck going by. There's no need for it.
All right. Thank you, Tommy.
Need for it? No.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Anybody else here for public comment?
All right.
Well, if not, then I'll make the motion to close public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. All right, let's move here to the town board. This give an update for the Somers Town Board here. We've been talked a lot about the Anglefly Conservation Easement, and it was recorded on September 15th, so that is official.
That deserves.
We're completely done with that. So that's
12 years later.
12 years later. We've been on that. So we did.
We felt like 11.
I know it's only felt like
Amazing.
Seemed like it flew by.
That's it.
So now the other work begins with that. Give another update too on the double pole. We started an initiative for the double poles back in April of 2022. We started out with 527 double poles here in the town. It was a commission or a group of myself, NYSEG, Comcast, Verizon, Cablevision, all coming together and having quarterly meetings. From the 527, I'm happy to announce that we're currently at 120. So we're moving right ahead. So we're have a few more, because 120 more polls to go, and then hopefully we'll be finished with that initiative here. So that's good. That's good information. So just want to keep everybody abreast on that. I know people have reached out and asked where we're at with that. Patty, I'm going to move number 9 on the agenda up here for Dave Smith, and it's the Trailside Estates. Dave, if you want to come up, and if anybody's here for that as well.
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board. Rich Williams is actually here on behalf of Trailside Estates, in case there are any specific questions.
Okay.
The matter before you tonight, back in August, you had initiated the State Environmental Quality Review Act process, that's SEQR, where you declared your intent to act as lead agency. The proposed action that's before you is a proposed zoning amendment to rezone approximately 56 acres from the Planned Hamlet District to multifamily Baldwin Place. That's MFRBP. It includes a revised application of 81 townhome units in a 6,000 square foot community center. So that notice of intent was circulated to a comprehensive list of interested and involved agencies. To date, you've received comments back from New York City DEP, your own planning board, the Bureau of Fire Prevention, And we just recently, I think yesterday, received a comment letter back from New York State DOT, none of whom have objected to your board acting as lead agency. So the action for you tonight to consider is to actually declare yourself to be lead agency and coordinate the environmental review. The next steps for the applicant are to prepare a series of technical reports that would be submitted as part of the application process that you would be reviewing. In the memo that I had prepared and circulated earlier, we've identified a series of technical reports, including a traffic impact report, which would evaluate the proposed action and how it impacts the local roadway network, a natural resources report, including an evaluation of tree removal. There is a wetland located on site. I don't think the applicant is proposing to do any disturbance to the wetland, maybe some minor wetland buffer disturbance, but we've asked to have a wetland mitigation report included. We're suggesting that the applicant prepare a fiscal analysis, which would include taxes that are generated now, taxes that would be generated in the future. And just to clarify, the proposed project is a fee simple project. So I think that's important. And I've also spoken to the applicant, and I've asked them to include as part of this fiscal analysis that each household that moves into this community brings with it some level of disposable income, which they will spend in the greater Somers community. And so I've asked them to evaluate how that kind of that fiscal implication is a positive impact to the community and the surrounding business community.
Can I ask you a question about that? How do you require that of someone who's about to purchase a condo? I don't quite understand. Who are you requiring this of?
How'd you get the number?
Oh, come up with a number. So you'll have an estimated value on the sale of the unit, and in order to afford that, you have some income requirements. And so it's kind of like saying, all right, more or less, there are averages. 30% of your income goes towards spending for housing, and X amount goes to transportation. And then there's a certain percentage of your household income that's left for discretionary spending on goods and services within the community. So you take that figure and you multiply it by the number of units and the number of households, and that's how you come up. So that's how you come up with kind of a general number.
But I mean, don't banks? Isn't it up to the bank if someone has the financial qualifications to buy something? How do we get involved in that?
No. So the issue is that the homeowners move in,
Right.
and they say, oh, you know what? We want to go out to eat.
Okay.
And so they'll go out and they will spend money in the community.
I got it.
So the benefit is, all right, so let's look at this project. So this project will generate so much in discretionary income, which some portion of which will be spent in the greater Somers community. They'll go to Baldwin Place, they'll go to another restaurant, they'll go to,
But I mean, is this a determining factor for whether the person buys something?
No.
No, it's
No.
economic.
It's part of kind of a global or a comprehensive review of the project, and it's kind of how it fits into the local community. It has nothing to do with whether they can afford to purchase a unit. We're assuming that.
I mean, my assumption was always if you were moving to a place like that, the advantage is to the businesses around that and to the tax base and to sales tax that go to Westchester portion and come back
Correct.
to Somers, is that it generates economic activity. And the more economic activity, the better the town is, the country is.
Yes, exactly.
Generate economic
So
activity.
all we're asking is to try and quantify that in some way so that you have that as part of your evaluation of the overall environment.
Have we required that in other projects?
I don't know if you've done that here in Somers, but
doing it now.
But I know in the projects that I work on, and I have private development clients, that I include that because I think it's important for a community and for the other communities that I represent. When projects like this come in, I ask the applicants to prepare that type of analysis. Again, because I think it's important for the local community to understand that there's this tertiary benefit to
And obviously
economic benefit.
that becomes public, right?
Yeah.
Study.
Yes.
Right? And then businesses can use that to say, listen, I like this area. I know we're going to make this amount of dollars is spent in this area, in this location. This is going to be a great place for me to start my business or continue my business and expand.
Yeah, I think I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
I think it's informative. It's an economic analysis, and you can make some judgments on it. in terms of what the impacts to the town are.
Yeah.
And
What helps to sell the project? I just want to make sure I misunderstood.
You thought that would do
I
a
was-
responsibility that.
A couple of people get together, they got their first place, and they're eating pork and beans for the
Yeah,
year.
we need you to spend this amount of
Yeah.
money.
All right, I don't want to get in the way of those people.
No, you're
Richard,
not getting
I
it.
had the pork and beans from Stop and Shop. We're good with it.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm hearing it.
So again, I think it's just, it helps
Okay, I understand.
better inform the community.
Okay, I didn't understand before.
And then the other reports is stormwater management report, which is required. And typically we ask that the applicant coordinate with the State Historic Preservation Office. And that's just simply they can provide some initial evaluation of whether there are any issues with the property. And then lastly, we're asking the applicant to prepare a utilities evaluation of water and sewer, so that everybody has an understanding of how those are provided to the site.
And most of these are straightforward with every.
Yes, and it's an evaluation of the environmental assessment form that was submitted with
Yep.
the application. These are all standard, I don't want to say standard, but they're all
Normally required.
normally required reports to help better inform the public and you as you're making a,
Aren't the number of potential number of students included in secret now to the school district?
yeah, that would be included as part of the fiscal analysis.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and there's standards that are used to say how many kids, school-age children would generate
Yeah,
from
right.
project.
I mean, I think that was years ago it was added, but okay.
Yeah.
Good.
When they do that traffic thing, you said on effect on roads.
Yeah.
Now, the public roads, there'll be an effect on private property there too. Is that included in that because it's going to open up into the shopping center and then there's several ways out?
Well, yeah, it would, the access, I believe, is through, Rich, what's the, Reynolds Drive. Reynolds Drive out to Route 6.
Right.
So essentially that's all would be public roads.
Yes.
And then we'll work with the traffic engineers on
Yeah, I just-
the actual, which intersections get evaluated. And again, there's a standard methodology for doing and understanding traffic.
That's one thing people are always interested in.
Absolutely, yes. Yep.
Okay.
So that's kind of a summary of where you are in the process and then kind of the immediate next steps for your board's consideration.
When we get those,
I noticed that some of the committees, fire committee or whatever, made some observations about trailside, access and egress. How does all that get processed into the?
So that's something that the applicant's been made aware of those comments, and they're going to have to address that as part of their next submission. I think somebody asked, well, what's the timing?
Yeah.
I was just wondering, is there a time when we're going to get all the reports you just listed?
Yeah, and I think we've had discussions with the applicant, and I think there should
Clear my
for,
calendar.
Yeah, for November. It's going to take a little bit of time
Basketball.
with traffic, and traffic is sensitive on the time of year. Yeah, with holidays and all that. But I think that's kind of the general, within the next month or 2 months, they want to get going. So it's up to them to really prepare the plans and have them submitted for your review.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think we're all pretty good here. All right, guys, want to go to A? I'll make the motion to declare town board as lead agency.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And then I'll make the motion to prepare whatever technical reports or documents that are needed. Get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Good night.
Thanks, Rich.
Okay, on to number 2, design and construction administration for the base of the Old Bet Monument. We have Steve Robbins here, Senior Technical Manager, Principal of Woodard and Kern.
Good evening. I apologize for not being able to make your last town board meeting when this was originally discussed. Woodard and Kern has prepared for the town a proposal to conduct engineering services to design and oversee the construction of a new foundation for the Old Bet Tower, or monument, sorry, out in front of the townhouse. Lovely elephant up in the air. The services include design of a new foundation. The existing structure is quite old. It's been hit by a car at least once. There's been a number of repairs associated with the base and very limited information on how that was constructed, and it does not appear to be in good condition, especially conditions adequate to support a new bronze statue on the top. So our team would design that new reinforced concrete foundation, any modifications to the base and center column that are needed, work in coordination with a local artisan for any scroll work modifications that might be needed. And then during construction, oversee that construction work, make sure the rebar and concrete are all up to our specs, so that this lasts another 100+ years as a foundation to that statue at the center of our town. That proposal includes design services, construction phase services, and it does have an allowance that will be used if needed for any concrete testing, if we see the need to take some concrete tests during construction, and if we need a geotechnical boring on site. We don't anticipate at this time needing that, but this authorization includes budget. Should that be needed, we can move quickly to get that service on site and keep this project on track.
So I was one of the ones who asked the question because I saw this, and I admitted freely I'm a layman when it comes to this. I don't have any idea. Just when I saw the number, I thought it was high again, and I wanted somebody to come and explain to me sort of how the number was come to. So or was arrived at. So there's a lump sum of 21.9, which includes the 86 for design and 13.3 for construction. And then in addition, there could be another 7,500 for third-party testing.
The lump sum, I can see how that was read that way. The lump sum is 8,600 for design services.
Okay.
The construction phase services would be time and materials for the remainder of that 21,900, because we don't know if some of those testing services will be required until.
Yeah, I was going to say
get a bit.
13.3 and the 8,600 equal to 21.9.
That's correct.
So there could be up to an additional 7,500 for third-party testing.
That's included in the 21.9.
It could be less than that.
It could be less than that.
Oh, okay.
Our intention here is to give you the ability to authorize what we think is the maximum amount needed and less.
That's fine. When I read this,
Seemed like
it was
Yes.
confusing to me that it looked like there was a 7,500 that wasn't included in the number, but you're saying that's included.
That's inclusive, yes.
Okay.
So it's I'm sorry, Tom.
No, again, I was just looking. You go ahead. If I have something else, I'll come backwards.
So this includes the construction of whatever you design?
This includes only professional services. There would be additional funds that the town would need to authorize for the actual concrete, rebar, and labor.
And do you have an estimate of what that would be, or that's not included in this whatsoever?
It's not included in this. I do think it's on the order of $20,000.
And on top of that?
Correct.
Does that surprise you that all this would be necessary? Like, everybody was here when it got unveiled, said, hey, it's a nice thing, we got a guy designing this, going to replace it up there. It's falling apart, it's made of wood, it's not going to last. At that time, I'm just wondering out of curiosity, did you as an engineer, because none of us ever envisioned, all that we'd have to do. And I'm not saying it's not worth it at all. It'll be great. Something will, stay up there 100 years. At that time, did you say to yourself, they're going to need a whole lot of work on this. This thing's not going to work out there with what they've got planned? Or only when you start investigating it? I'm just wondering how, in your mind, as our engineer, in effect, it sort of what timeline you had there when you said we got to do something.
Yeah, the devil's always in the details, and our agreement with the town is as needed services. So when the details of the statue were made available from the sculptor, and we sat down and looked at it, and in discussions with the supervisor, said, this is, and went out and took a look at it.
we went from 250 pounds to 650 pounds, and that original scroll has been up there for 100+ years. We did have some damage to the column itself a number of years ago, and I think we had some numbers back in 2011, I think, that came out as well in prior board meetings way back when. We looked at redoing that and kind of doing that testing and having that study completed. For when I stand here and had a conversation with Steve, it's we want to make sure that this elephant is up there for the next 120 years. And as we start talking to other people to come up there and looking at the scroll work, some of the information that we've been getting from the professionals who do this type of work is that they won't do the work unless there is a stamp on it. And this is where Go ahead.
Supervisor, Mr. Supervisor, did we get the details of the weight and all? Thank you very much. That's an entry to me. Wow.
And that was at the circus here.
That got on the
right in line with the circus.
Did we, when we say that, and I agree, devil's always in the details, and we're finding that out more and more lately. Did we know the weight of it, like only after it was completed?
I think it was supposed to be less than the 650. I think it was supposed to be in the 4 range. And even then, I think I would have said, all right, you went from 250 to 450. We're going up an extra 200 pounds. Let's make sure, let's test it out, make sure it
I
holds.
want to make sure that we learn from this, because obviously, when we agreed to, and I think all of us are for the new,
We are.
old bed. Everybody's for it. Of
course.
But, we have a lot of projects that come ahead of us, and I just want to make sure, and I know, Rob, you've been all over many of them, and most of these were started before you were here. But I want to make sure that moving forward, that the details are all taken care of before $1 is spent. So we're not coming here saying, oh, well, we have this beautiful 600-pound elephant, and it's going to cost us another $40,000 to elevate it. I'm not saying we wouldn't have done it.
Right.
And this is not you, Steve. I'm just making a general comment.
No, I agree.
I'm not saying we wouldn't have
I
done
agree with you.
It would just be a lot more palatable than finding out.
We should know what
you know what?
we should know what's we're gonna be taking on before.
Yeah, there's an empty pedestal out there, and we've had the elephant in here for
But,
so long.
but in all due respect, I mean, although the engineer has responsibility for doing that, it's a project management issue. In other words, when we decided to do this, we have a bunch of organizations.
Yes.
Kind of doing this. Somebody at the top has to say, I'm in charge of this, and, we got to coordinate here. What's happened here is, Rob came in and started project managing it as it
was already done.
As we were starting to go into process here. So,
Yeah, in no way am I
Yeah.
saying anything to Steve. I understand where Steve's coming from. I'm just saying for future projects, and again, I think what you just said is 100% correct. Rob will be the project manager, and we just want to make sure that we don't have.
but when we sat here, we said, yeah, this was a great idea. The old elephant was deteriorating, was
Got a
cracked.
crack in the back.
So, and they came up with the idea, and they said, yeah, go for it. This thing's beautiful, but to understand it's 650 pounds, and we're on a pedestal there that's maybe 100 years old. We don't even know if it's anchored. Even if it was half the weight, I don't think you would have wanted to put it on that pedestal the way it's
right.
designed right now.
No.
I think we're in a situation where we have to design something that's safe and sustainable for
See, well-
many years.
Correct, but we have to stay within the historical nature of the original scroll. So that's where this comes down to play. And that's what we're doing. We're not just going to, and just want to make everybody know, we're not just going to throw something up there just to say we threw an elephant up there on the pedestal and not make sure it's safe and it's not there for the next 150 years that we've been saying here. We want to make sure that we dot and cross the T's, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything the right way. We want to make sure that when someone looks back on this in 10 to 15 years from now, they can say they did it the right way. And that's what we're trying to accomplish here.
But I think Tom's point about, you learn from everything that you do. That's the value of experience. And so part of it is, I blame myself. I didn't ask all the questions, didn't ask the right questions. Are we sure it can support it? I should have thought of that. Or are we sure we have vetted this whole thing? Who are we going to ask on this? So, I mean, we're up here. We're not experts at too many things, but we do ask questions. And, I think it's the value of continually asking to make sure that we do vet it properly, because eventually it comes back to us. And the other thing I think is a good point is that when people say they're going to take on projects for the town, and we appreciate their energy, willingness to do stuff, eventually, though, it is the town's responsibility. We change up here, and I think we have to make sure that those plans on a variety of things are always done with the best resources the town can muster, along with the hard work of the volunteers who are doing a lot of the groundwork for it. But eventually, we've got to make sure that all these projects, wherever they might be, in whatever form they are, of very good community ideas, that the town can stand behind them by doing all the research and applying expertise where needed. So I think that there is a lesson to be learned here.
I kind of think of it like it's back to project management. We ask all the questions, but we're not experts. I would never thought of half of the things to ask at the time when it was approved. But we should have had a project manager say, okay, now you have responsibility across engineering, history, timeline, and whatever, and take a look at this and come back and, give us an assessment. We didn't really do that. That's the part that's missing. Right. I mean, I can't sit here and, kind of, be an engineer and then be an architect and then be
No.
a guy.
No, you're right. It's someone who takes on the project.
And again, this is
Oh,
nothing, Steve, you just happen to be at the podium right now. We're just kind of talking.
Yeah.
And right now, there's
Just keep nodding your head and go, right.
It's not even,
Right.
not even necessarily
Right.
about the elephant, it's about projects in general.
Yeah.
I
Understood.
want to make that clear.
Yeah, and, this exemplifies it. But look, we got to get this thing done.
No, it's going to go up.
And it's going to be here for
it's going to be beautiful.
100 years. It's going to be beautiful.
It is going to be beautiful. So,
It's going to be
Picture's beautiful.
Thank you, Steve.
thanks.
Very good.
Thanks for explaining.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, my pleasure.
Yes.
good?
Yeah, it helped.
All right. So I think we're all in unison here. I'll make the motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the proposal for Woodard and Curran.
Six.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
Steve.
you. Have a good night.
Okay.
All righty. Next up on here, Westchester EMS, Northern Westchester Advanced Life Support, paramedic fly car analysis and recommendation for their 2023-2024 budget. We brought in Al Kim. If you want to just
Sure.
introduce yourself to everybody.
Thank you, Supervisor and Councilman. Those of you who don't know Westchester EMS, my name's Al Kim. I'm the Executive Director for Westchester EMS. And Westchester EMS is your town's shared service for paramedics. I don't want to get into a whole lesson on EMS, but there's volunteers that we all rely on, myself included, and they provide basic life support. They have EMTs, and they do the yeoman's work of not getting paid, showing up when we call 911 to our homes, and they have the ambulances. Many years ago, it was decided by town supervisors, along with the hospital, that we need advanced life support, ALS, it's the acronym. And in order to do that, Westchester EMS was engaged. We're a not-for-profit EMS agency, part of the hospitals, to provide that service in a shared service model between the 8 towns that constitutes Northern Westchester. And so on that model, we started with 3 units, 24 hours a day, and they're staffed by, again, the paramedics. You see them around. Maybe they drive a little too fast for our liking, but nonetheless, they're out there. And they write a loan. They carry majority of the medications that are on the EDs, emergency departments. They can do a lot of invasive care in the field. They also do 12-lead EKGs in the field, interpret and transmit to the receiving hospitals from the field when it's pertinent. So there are certain kinds of, EKG or electrocardiogram findings that would prompt a notification and consultation with a physician of a particular ED, where coordination and timely receiving of that patient in the ER can really make a difference. So that's really a quick summary of what the paramedics do. Over the past 20 years, what we started with is 3 units, 24 hours a day, covering upwards of 200 square miles with for 8 towns, working with 14 different volunteer agencies within those boundaries. And the call volume, when we started collecting data, and we've gotten better at it, so has everyone with data collection and analysis. Don Cottle, who's with me, is become the de facto expert at doing that analysis. And when we started monitoring it, we were doing about 3,000 responses on an annual basis. In 21-22, we've started to see, an alarming uptick. It was gradual, but it started to really increase, and we're now approaching 7,000 responses a year. And what that basically translates to is that, again, I'm speaking for the paramedics, the advanced life support units, the response times are going up. And you know, it seems anecdotal to assume that the busier the service is, the response times would go up. But the data really points that out, and we've shared that report. The report that we generate is larger and more inclusive, but the ones that are pertinent to what we recommended to the elected officials of those 8 towns was that it's time to consider adding a 4th unit, whether it's 24 hours a day, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. And what we looked at is a thing called the heat map. And a heat map is basically a cluster, sort of a pattern of time of day, day of the week, of when the most calls occur, collectively in those 8 municipalities. And we've identified somewhere around 7 a.m. to about 8 p.m., 7 days a week actually, where the calls are clustered, where all 3 units are often engaged at once. If not, 1 or more of the units are engaged on a call already. Now, what we've discovered is when all 3 units are available and a call is made, where a paramedic is needed, the response time is the lowest. It's optimal. When 1 unit's already on a job and 2 remain and a second call drops, the response times go up. When both 2 units are on call and the last unit is remaining, we move them around based on pattern of calls. There's no real true way to predict where the calls are going to come from. I don't have a crystal ball. But we've determined by geography, and we move them around. And when we've done that, the last unit left, when they get a call, unless it happens to be where they're sitting, the response time, goes up quite a bit. And we've been monitoring this now for a number of years closely. And we've also been monitoring ways to decrease the need for paramedics. So if the volunteers get out, and the better the volunteers get out, they could cancel the paramedics if they don't need it. Paramedics really aren't necessary if you and I have a bone sprain or a minor injury. That's not the idea for using paramedics. So we've been working very closely with BLS, the Basic Life Support Agencies, our volunteers, to help them get out better. They're challenged as well, and they're coming from home often. And so their response times can be difficult to predict. And even South County, or more southern of northern Westchester, where the population density is a little closer, the response times can be slightly different. The biggest takeaway is the 6,000, it's a 122% increase from when we started to the end of 2022. That increase is impacting response time where we felt the responsibility to advise the stakeholders that we need to add another resource, the 4th unit. At this time, we're recommending 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we've broken it down, as I'm sure the funding model is something that's applauded widely. It's a shared service model based on geography, square miles, population, call volume, and assessed value. And that shared model is between the 8 municipalities. It's the recommendation that we made was brought forth during the budget presentation for the 2024 calendar year. And it was asked, for us to produce a more summary document that you guys, the council has, I believe, to review. Basically, it summarizes and kind of highlights everything I just presented. And so I'm just, recommending that the town supervisors and the boards seriously consider the need for adding resources at this time, because the increase in the response time is going to make a difference.
Okay. I got a couple of questions.
Yes, of course.
So what I saw there was something like 8,000 calls. Those statistics are essentially the 3 the 3 units.
Yeah,
And the entire system, not Somers. So I just want
correct. Yes, that's for the entirety of the 8 township combined.
So you've been operating with 3,
Yes.
all the way to, and you've gone from what, 6,000 calls?
No, we've gone from 3,000 to 7,000.
3,000 to 7,000 with 3
Yeah.
units you started with.
Yes,
And your response times are what, 8 to 12 minutes?
exactly.
Depends, yeah.
So
And then some of them are over 12 minutes.
Yes,
the BLS will go out first.
that's the idea.
That's the idea.
That's
right?
the idea. So a 2-tiered system is what the EMS jargon is, which is what we have.
Right.
BLS before ALS. That does happen in Somers.
It does.
Yes, because Somers is staffed. They have a very strong, fire department with ambulances. So that happens.
And they are looking to bring on another
They are.
less.
They are. They want to run 2 units.
Correct.
Well,
Yeah.
it's funny. I drove my daughter to school today, and I drove by the sign out front, and I'd be curious. I don't know if you have it with you, the number of calls in Somers versus the other 7 municipalities, because I know on the board out front, they have the number of fire calls and then the number of EMS calls, and it's
We
pretty large.
do provide that data.
I think
They say
think they're up this
most
year.
north of White Plains
They're up.
is Somers.
They're up 234 more calls than they were at this time last year.
So for us, I think it's important to get another car. I mean, I talked to the supervisor about it. We were talking about something else, and with the number of calls that we have, I mean, another 12-hour car I think makes sense just because of so many calls.
Those numbers of your system does not include what our local folks are doing.
It's inclusive.
It's inclusive
Yeah.
of the Somers.
Yeah, it's
So
inclusive.
the 8,000 includes.
So the only difference could be is the dispatching body or the agency that dispatches emergency responders in Somers and most of the towns, in the municipalities, is by the county. The county dispatches, and when they practice this thing called emergency medical dispatch or EMD, and they're supposed to triage the caller to make a determination whether or not they should send everything they have, all resources, or if they're able, they have a strict protocol. If they're able to speak to the caller or, the injured, they can then make some determination to say, we can figure out, because they're trained, the dispatchers, the call takers, that they don't need the paramedics. So we'll just send the BLS volunteers only, leave the paramedics out of it. With the advent of cell phones and people calling, as you drive by accidents, if they can't make that contact, they will send everything. So we're close, but for those cases where the caller is able to speak to the call taker and the Somers unit gets sent without the paramedics, then those 2 numbers could be slightly off, but it's close.
So how do I think about this, though? We're putting on another car into our system. That'll sort of help you.
Oh yeah, it will help.
Well, are the other municipalities doing similar things?
They are. So again, this is a shared model. So
Not our car.
the fly car.
Not our car, yeah.
Yeah.
Our car.
Yeah, so it's a shared model. So by having a 4th unit, 12 hours a day, incorporated into the current the staffing configuration, rather, all of the towns will benefit.
Where would it be stationed?
That's a really good question. We've been talking about it. We're most likely going to stage that unit what we determine as central from our coverage area, which right now, and that could change, but our central designation is Katona.
So that's where you're hubbing out of, Katona?
Well, so we have 3. We have one in Somers
Okay.
at Lincolndale House.
Okay.
We have one designated, again, if they're all available.
Yeah.
One's at Mount Kisco. One's at Somers at the Lincolndale House. They're housed there.
Right.
And one is inside of Lewisboro's Volunteer Ambulance Corps, right on 35. So that's, if all are available, that's where they sit.
How many times on average do each of the 3 are they called out?
All 3?
No, any one of the 3 on average.
49, well, I don't know, 49% of the time, I have that number. 49% of the time, one or more of the paramedic units are on a call. Half the time, basically.
3, Rich.
So instead of being available, sitting,
Yeah, I'm just trying to say,
Yeah.
if you get a unit,
Yeah.
I mean, how many times a year does that guy get, or those people, those women, whoever
Yeah, the medics.
called out? Yeah, the medics. How many? I mean, is it every day you're going out? If you're on a unit, you're going out
Oh,
every day, or
many times a day.
okay,
So-
that's what I'm. Okay,
Yeah.
So our hot,
Many times a shift.
many times a shift.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
so our hot spots are Heritage Hills, is Clayton
In Somers, yeah.
Boulevard up there getting busy?
Yes. Heritage Hills for sure is definitely a draw of requests. I don't have by address
Okay.
the heat map for Somers in front of me. I don't know if Don does.
oh yeah.
Go.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm asking, yeah.
Hey, I'm sorry, I'm not picking you up, sir.
Right, right.
Step,
Yeah,
step.
microphone.
Up to the mic, Don.
So, Heritage Hills typically accounts for about 30% of the calls from Somers district. The call volume is also migrating towards the north end of your district, up by the new areas of development, up 118, up to the Baldwin Place area. That said, numbers through all the municipalities in the consortium are increasing, likely due to increases in population and also likely due to increasing ages of residents. As people age, they tend to use emergency services more often.
Do you know what our call volume is in Somers?
About 2,000, I think. About 2,000 or so.
That's the paramedics. Yeah, and it could be slightly different.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to get a sense proportionately. So of the 8,000, we're like 2.
So Somers' call volume in 2022 was 2021.
Close.
And the year before that was 2020. So we beat it by 1.
And that includes our system as well.
Yes.
Well, that includes your system. Your system might exceed that because we don't get dispatched on all the calls that might not need a
Well,
parent.
that's not total,
to them.
saying.
Do you have a number currently where we're at for 2023?
2023, not for Somers directly, but we're running neck and neck. Actually, I think we're a little ahead of last year.
Okay.
So it's continuing to grow.
So we're about a quarter of your calls. You said total calls about 8,000?
7,000.
Oh, 7,000. So we're
Yeah.
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 out of eight areas.
Yep.
I mean, our fire department always says every year they have the most calls for emergency services north of White Plains because the number of people we have and the population is older.
Of the 8 towns in the consortium, Somers is the busiest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
call volume.
we'd expect that.
Yeah.
So
What should our call response?
You know,
I mean, I know that's
I was afraid of that question. Yeah.
that's simply
What's
slow.
response times?
I mean, but how do
No, well, there's. This is where it's.
But my wife doesn't even do 30.
Right.
30 call.
You know,
Doesn't respond at all. What are you talking about?
Exactly. 15, 20.
we like to aim for priority 1 kinds of calls for somewhere in the window of 8 minutes
Yeah.
to inside of 8 to 10 minute window.
So these
that's
are
that's our goal.
but you have-
These are there's outliers.
Yeah, you got-
and the reports that we generate that we give out to the public, to the town supervisors, we pull out the outliers as well, so that you could see some of the outliers and the reasons behind it.
So the average response time right now is 10.1.
Correct.
The assumption is with another fly car, we could knock a minute off that possibly.
Yeah, that's our goal.
Which when we're talking about the types of things we're talking about,
Life and death.
a minute is
It's
huge.
huge.
Yes.
For me, I'd like you to get there in 9 minutes, not 10.
So,
Yes. Same.
at most of these calls, do you usually get a police response as well?
They do.
I mean,
They do.
can I think of it as that there's police response to every one of these with them? When you have a call, usually you find police, or maybe a police may be the first one on the scene.
They are often.
Often, but not always.
Right.
It depends,
Time of day.
Depends what the police are
depending
doing.
on their staffing as well. Sometimes at night, there's one state trooper on to cover the area, they could be over in Lewisboro. and, not have resources.
Well, I mean, you guys do a good job, and this is very interesting. I mean, for the public to see the type of activity that's taking place, and the services that we provide, safety services that we provide between police, fire, and EMS is at the heart of what we do here. It's pretty amazing. So
There's no doubt. I mean, you hear, and we've all experienced it in some way. One time when my daughter fell down the stairs, was unconscious, and what you get and what we expect and take for granted in our country, and especially in the area that we live. We can go to other places in the world where I think we would appreciate more of what we have in this way, because I think sometimes it's just fantastic when something happens and boom, man, there's a police car, there's ambulance, there's people know what they're doing, helping, and it happens so fast that I think sometimes we don't appreciate how much it does happen, and a large part because of people who are volunteering their time, and yet they are professionals.
Oh, absolutely they
Yeah,
are.
and I would also commend towns, because the towns who developed this system in our communities here and who fund it. So kudos to them for.
Yeah, we'll take anything. We can take anything you give. Yeah,
But
Yes.
what our role
So-
here is to advise you that we're reaching the point where we might want to consider adding resources so that we can maintain
Yep.
the level of service.
we
that-
consult.
How is it gonna work? So Bedford votes one way, Somers votes another way, right? Pound Ridge votes another way. How are we?
That's why I'm here.
How are
Our aim is to get a majority.
Are we the first here so far?
Yeah, we
First presentation?
majority of the votes.
You can go with a majority.
I
Or
can.
we'd have to pull out of the system.
I can, and we can. And so at this point, everyone is leaning from my conversations with other towns towards the starting the service mid-year. Okay, so because the budget season is upon us, to lessen the increase from 23 to 24, to start it mid-year, and then the changeover from 24 to 25 would also be less impactful.
So what's the number we're talking about here?
you're looking at that?
I have that
79, 7.
Yep, you got it.
39,000?
For a year
Um,
or for
a
half
half
a
a
year?
For a half a year. And it
Yeah, for half a year, to Somers,
120,000.
full year.
39 for the full year.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the
You're looking for a decision from the town by when?
by the 25th of October.
We have a little time collectively as a whole to talk about.
Yes, I had asked
October.
town supervisors to convene a remote virtual meeting. The budget's been approved with the current configuration, and
Adjust it then, right?
yeah, we just want to adjust it to include one of the models, whether it's full year or half a year. Right now, it looks like half a year is the leanings, and I asked on a Zoom meeting for the 25th, so we could convene and take a roll.
So how do we coordinate? You're coordinating with the individual fire departments when you ask for this? Is that how?
At this?
Yeah.
No, this has really no bearing on the fire department.
Not the fire department, the EMS, the services within those departments.
So again, the fly cars are entirely funded by the municipalities,
Right.
and so the volunteers, want this because they want their paramedics
Yes.
on a call with them. But other than that, we rely on the volunteers,
Right.
the ambulances. Only the medics show up. The paramedics are on the scene. They can only do what they do for so long. Eventually, they need to take us to the hospital.
Right.
That's the volunteers.
Okay.
So we work very, very closely with them. We do training together. We formed a group. They do, paramedic, how to assist the paramedic on a call with their, with the paramedic's equipment, so that the members are more familiar. Those kinds of things we work very closely with the volunteers on a regular basis, including Somers Fire Department.
But you were saying that our volunteer organization's adding another.
They are.
Oh, yes. So we staff, yeah, that's a separate arrangement that we
Yeah.
have. Yeah, because,
Bringing a fourth guy in.
right, they are, yeah. So Westchester EMS, in addition to the paramedics that does this 911 work that we're speaking to you about, we have a separate division with EMTs and paramedics, so basic level and paramedics that primarily do work for non-911 but emergency work for the hospitals, for skilled nursing facilities, and other places. And we've staffed with EMTs the volunteer agencies when they've asked us to backfill their roles, their membership. And the reason we participated in that endeavor is because if the volunteers don't get out and come to the scene, our paramedics are stuck on a call, sometimes on a call that they're not really needed on.
Yeah.
And the data, again, pointed to if a paramedic's stuck on a call, the next call that occurs, the response time goes up. So the town supervisors had collectively encouraged us to work closely with the volunteers in any way we can to lessen the calls of paramedics. Whatever it takes to lessen the calls for the paramedics. So, the healthier population lessens the call.
You've had 3 fly cars for how long?
22 years.
And so this makes 4. So this is not a common occurrence.
No.
It's not something that you would anticipate one every 5 years, even with population incline.
Yeah, again, Don's right. I credit the elected officials. They keep us on task with making sure that we look at every possible way to draw efficiency out of it.
Yeah.
And that's where the volunteers come in, because we rely so heavily on them. As I just stated, if the volunteers don't get out and the medics are stuck on, let's say, a minor injury, they can't leave.
Right.
In the state of New York, that's considered abandonment. So they stay there until someone shows up to take over that call. So whatever it takes to decrease the paramedics' call volume is what the supervisors have asked us, including Don worked with the highway department to put speed those rumble strips on roads, and he got all the phone calls from the bicycle riders and stuff. But he did. But that was on Route 100 actually, wasn't it? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm on TV.
Call him.
Because our idea is to squeeze out efficiency.
Now, I have one last dumb question. So last year, I had a young man down in Valhalla who was working for me, and he would sometimes be late or didn't come. He said, well, I had to drive the fly car. Now, at the beginning, I thought it was a joke, and he had a flying car. And then I asked him what the fly car is, and it went under this long thing, which I kept nodding my head and go, I'm never asking the question again. Yeah. So just the fly car is, just give me a description.
Okay. Clearly, it's a nickname, but it's well accepted. A fly car is, I think it's best described as an SUV. It could be a car, but it's an SUV driven by a paramedic. It's marked, lights and sirens and all the emergency accoutrements. And the idea behind it was originally called Intercept, Paramedic Intercept. And the original founders of, not just here, but across the country, was a paramedic could sort of be available by him or herself in a intercept car, fly car. And when the BLS level, the basic life support ambulance, would be abundant, would go to a call, they would need a higher level of care, which would be not as abundant, there'd be less of them, and they would intercept them on a road somewhere. And the paramedic would jump in the back of the ambulance with their equipment. One of the partners in the back of the ambulance would jump out and either drive the fly car, or they would abandon it wherever the fly car and the ambulance intercepted, and they would go to the hospital together. This, again, was only done in very rural communities, and hence the word fly car was born, was that they can fly into a call, intercept with a basic life support ambulance, and provide the higher level of care. The premise is you shouldn't use paramedics unless you really need them. That was the entire premise of a two-tiered system. Is that always the case? You know, that's what we strive for.
But you're not abandoning these cars along the side of the road.
No, because the volunteers drive it in. They like driving the fly cars.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
And we encourage
And we
them
encourage it.
so we can get back in service.
Yeah, so we know what happens. Fly car is abandoned on a scene of a call somewhere on Baldwin Place. That's where the call is.
Yeah.
And the volunteers don't drive the fly car back to the emergency room. Then once the call is finished, they have to resupply and then get driven back to the call location, pick up their car before they can honestly go on the radio and say, I'm available.
Wow.
That adds a lot of time versus coming out available right from the hospital.
Yep. Okay.
Excellent. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Keeping us safe.
Thank you for having us.
Of course.
Coming. Okay, let's move on to number 4, stop sign request. And I wanted to have a discussion about this. We received a request here from Condo 29, formal request to approval to install 4 stop sign. The request seeks substantial support and documentation. I have to say that this might be one of the most thorough things that we've received from a resident. Very thorough, so you can please let him know that. All right, he's very hard doing this. But I wanted to have a discussion because we get a lot of these requests from different areas throughout the town. Shenorock is one of them that just comes to mind, how we've seen a bunch of stop sign requests and we go out there and take a look at it. But, we're starting to get some requests, and my fear is having some requests coming from the other private roads in town. And that would be the Greenbriers, the Willows, Somers Chase, Somers Commerce, Avalon, Hidden Meadows, and then also here, Heritage Hills. So I think Roland, you and I had a little bit of a conversation earlier today, do we need these private communities or these private roads to have their own, traffic engineer study, or do we need them to do that since, like with Heritage Hills, I don't believe we patrol those roads when it comes to trafficking and those kind of things.
Well, that I think is your first question that has to be answered. How did this come about that the stop signs in Heritage Hills apparently go through the public hearing process and are put into the code as stop sign intersections that, if they're in the code, they're supposed to be enforced by the local police? And again, my information is all secondhand, but I'm told that the police don't do that enforcement in Heritage Hills. So I would question, why do we have that in our code? And historically, I do know that communities can request that their roads, even though they remain private, be subject to enforcement by the local police.
Okay.
So that document may exist somewhere where the society or some other, I guess it would be the society, would have requested that of the town, and the town board would have had to have accepted that. Assuming that's all true, then your police department should be enforcing what's up there,
Okay.
whether it be speed infractions or stop sign intersections.
So I guess that was my question. So it is permissible for the town to do this on private roads if we accept that responsibility after it has been requested.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
So that makes a lot of sense there. I mean, I know we've kind of did a couple of drives by that, right? And there's some merit to what they're saying, but I want to make sure that we're going about doing it the right way, and making sure we're not just making this something for every for
Well,
town-wide. And
But it goes hand in hand that if a prior board accepted the responsibility and you're taking the actions to put these intersections into the code, then you have to, if you find that that's all true, then you have to instruct your police department
Okay.
to actually do the job, because people rely on those stop signs and speed signs that they're being enforced. And right now, I don't know that they are.
Colin, do you think it's
So,
You think they are?
that can enforce it, or we must?
okay.
Good.
So,
Do we
Go ahead, Bill.
suspect that?
Mike? Bill, Mike.
Do we suspect that this code, this arrangement, will be that we, the local police, can enforce up there where we put stop signs, or we must enforce?
If you have this in your code, then you're supposed to be doing it, enforcing.
so Patty was just saying that our police have enforced, right? I know one of those. Okay.
One.
All right, so maybe.
Well, I think the chief mentioned he didn't think they did, so.
Okay.
So this all requires an investigation.
I have one other question, though. We're starting to take the stop sign, requests. Again, give us some guidance on stop signs for traffic calming devices versus what they're used for. I mean, are they traffic calming devices?
They're supposed to be installed. If you have a traffic expert in front of you, he's going to say that they're not used for that purpose.
Right.
That they're supposed to be used at intersections which require stop intersections. And I think your highway superintendent, that's why you refer it out.
Yeah.
Yep.
In every case, your highway superintendent, your police chief have to weigh in on these. And those are your professionals, since you're too small to have an actual traffic expert. Although the county, I know, has one that will come in on request. So if you had a particular situation that really required a study, they would come in and do it for you.
Because I mean, look at this situation and these roads going through Condo 29, right? It can be a major cut through, right? People's with GPS now, they're taking different detours, they're coming through, not knowing the area. This is where the concern is, and how do we move forward doing this, right? And I mean, I can see that some people may have or may not in Shenorock use that as a way to cut through. I think it's a less time to cut through Shenorock. But some people, that's the argument that they make. So I think to go there and get a little more research about this and see how it's in our town code and if it's where it came from, why was it in there to begin with. So Patty, I guess we'll be sitting with you maybe one of these days trying to find it, or Tommy, or that. I mean, maybe something in the minutes or something like that we did. It's gonna be a local law, right? So we can probably we'll look at that.
I mean, this is a reach, but Heritage Hills could become a gated community, right? Like if they were to say, look, it's a private.
Are they all private roads?
Well, that's a question, but the point is, it's becoming a drive-through. And it was something that was earlier fed. It was felt, but now it seemed to be coming to fruition a little bit because because of the ways and all these.
Yeah.
And a lion's share of these stop signs were put in the local law was 1994, and there was a good block.
Patty, turn your mic on. I can't hear you. Sorry.
There was a good block of them that were done at the same time.
Okay.
So that may be where there was the exchange of correspondence and the town board resolved to accept the responsibility around that date.
Okay.
So we need to investigate it.
Yeah.
But this could, Condo 29 has an issue, legit. Maybe Condo 27 does too.
Correct.
And
This is where this is where it's
that
the
could be
building on
like,
top of
okay,
it.
let's just increase the police force because we have an obligation here. So it does require some thought. And how can we solve this one situation without it sort of ballooning out of control? Yeah.
And it begs the question, because they have security too.
They do.
They do.
Yeah.
So do they enforce traffic controls?
So that's it. Can they enforce traffic controls?
Well, they cannot, or they.
What's your source on that?
Well, I know they can't issue citations that would come to local court, but under your bylaws, they'd have no authority?
They can give a warning.
Uh-huh.
That's it.
Well, I mean, the point is that, you know, it begs the question, I mean, you can change your bylaws. Would that allow them to, if their bylaws said that they can enforce, would that be legitimate legally?
Not to come to local court.
Not to come to local court, but
They'd have to set up some,
sort of a fine process.
Yeah.
You know.
And that would be upon Heritage Hills.
yes.
From our standpoint, let's look what we can do.
Yeah, so we're gonna do some research.
Yeah, we can refer it out, which is, I think, what we were
We're
looking
gonna do that, so let him know, we're gonna do our research, see where this came from.
We're not turning.
And see how we, what's in our town code.
We had asked to have the Somers Police come and patrol Heritage Hills, and they did come, it was about a year ago. And in a 2-hour time slot, they gave out 60 citations. For either speeding or running stop.
60.
2 hours. They
That's a lot of writing.
No, not really, but, all right, so let's.
So we'll look into it. So this will be for another matter, another time.
Yes, please.
And we'll look into it, okay? Thank you. I'll put it on the agenda for next week after we have a conversation about it and do some information, some
Good idea.
research. Okay. We're gonna have an add-on here, guys. This is a purpose letter that was submitted to the parties to express its prospective intention to construct a new state police barracks in the town of Somers. I'd like to make a motion to acknowledge the letter dated 8/14 to New York State Police Department with regular to construction of a new barracks on Route 100.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. That takes us to number 5. Consider authorization to the supervisor to execute the contract of purchase and sale with the Somers Fire Department for 2.5-acre parcel on land located at Route 100, Somers, New York, 10598, and designated on the tax map as part of the section 17.18, block 1, lot 1.2, to be used in New York State Police Barracks in the purchase price of $80,000. And further authorize the supervisor and the town attorney to make those actions to execute those documents to close title and said property as soon as practical.
Second, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
That's fine.
And
Second.
also, you must add that the resolution is subject to permissive referendum.
And also, what Roland just said, you got it?
Referendum.
Subject to
Subject to referendum.
Would you explain the
Yeah, if you would like to explain to everybody what that means.
permissive referendum process is?
It would mean that within 45 days from this authorization, if I think it's 5% of those who voted in the last gubernatorial election were to bring you in a petition, then you would have to put the purchase to a townwide vote within, I think, 60 days.
Like we did with sewer.
Yep.
Yeah.
With the sewer district.
So
go
yeah,
ahead. Go ahead.
just to
Go ahead.
that petition, I got somebody to sign this piece of paper. What constitutes a petition for these purposes? Anybody on a yellow pad or?
No, it has to
How-
has to describe
Right, that's what I'm saying.
the action that you've taken, and in sufficient form that people understand what it is that they're requesting. They have to sign it, put their address, and because if a petition was submitted, you have to be able, town clerk has to be able to ascertain that the people that signed were residents of the town.
It does not need to be notarized when they sign.
I don't believe so.
No, but I also like to point out here too, before we actually
Yes.
vote on it.
This is a good thing.
Right? This is a real good thing.
Yeah,
Real good
We're
thing.
keeping, we're
Against it. but
This is,
good
we're
thing.
trying to keep the state police here in town, and as everybody knows what the importance they are too. But I also want to point out too that we are going to be using community benefit for this. So there's not a dime coming out of the taxpayer dollars for the purchase of this. We're using community benefit. So I just want to point that out as well.
Great thing for the town.
And it's gonna be rolled into, is it gonna be rolled into the overall cost, and then we'll get that back over time?
Yes, that is
Right.
correct.
State.
From the state, correct.
State. So,
State.
you know, over time, it's fully funded by the state.
Fully funded by the state. That's what we've talked about the last time before, a couple weeks ago. So there's not a dime coming out of the town's pocket on this. So it's It's a good thing. We had a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.
We voted already.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Patty says she's got you.
Okay. Consider the amendment to the Crossroads at Baldwin Place Community Benefit Agreement. I think everybody's aware of that. I'd like to make the motion to adopt the amendment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved.
And we appreciate that because it allows us to use the money in.
It allows us to use the money for any way we would like to use the money for, which I think is, was originally earmarked for an existing renovation of a property, and they authorized us to be able to use that for whatever we'd like to do with it.
Very nice.
Number 7, authorize supervisor to execute the stormwater facility maintenance agreement with Cobbling Rock Estates, subdivision 27, Cobbling Rock Drive, tax map 37.19-2-4, per memo dated September 27, 2023, from Steve Warfel, Engineering Department. Make the motion to authorize supervisor to execute.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Number 8, authorize supervisor to execute the Justice Court Assistance Program grant in the 23-24 grant cycle, not to exceed $30,000 for the Somers Justice Court, per memo from Barbara Lloyd, town court clerk, dated September 12th, 2023. Make a motion to authorize.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. We did number 9.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Number 10, authorize supervisor to approve the First Amendment to the original 22-23 WIN and NSIP agreement for the provision of nutrition services to increasing funding by the additional $11,661. Per memo dated September 27, 2023, from Barbara Tabor, Seniors and Nutrition Program Director. Patty, can we move that to the consensus agenda for next week, please? Okay, and then number 11, refer request from Nick DeVito, Superintendent of Highways, for a stop sign to be placed at the northernmost intersection of Atson Way and Robert Martin Boulevard to the Somers Police Department, Somers Bureau of Fire Prevention and Engineering for evaluation. I think I'd like to move that to the consensus agenda as well. Parks and Rec, no additional business. Financial, no additional. Highway, no additional. Personnel, no additional. Current vacancies. We have a couple on the Affordable Housing Board, Assessment Board of Review, Partners in Prevention, and the Veterans Committee. We're still looking for one person for there. And then we also have some upcoming vacancies. Terms expire in 2023. One for the Library Board, so we'll find out that answer for you as well. Partners in Prevention and the Zoning Board of Appeals. If you are interested in serving on one of these boards, please contact my office and we can set up a time to talk and have you meet everybody else here on the board as well. Number 3, acknowledge the resignation of Nicholas Hinckley, road maintainer for the Somers Highway Department, effective September 29th, 2023. And then we did acknowledge them already today when they came up here and introduced themselves. Acknowledge the appointment of Bill Keene to the Somers Library Board of Trustees to fill an unexpired term from Michelle Nakora, effective September 20th, 2023, and ending December 31st, 2024. So we'll acknowledge that, and also acknowledge the appointment of Joanne DeMays to the Somers Library Board of Trustees to fill an unexpired term for Paul Manuel, effective September 20th, 2023, and ending December 31st, 2027. Planning and Engineering, no additional business. Police, we have no additional business. Proposed consensus agenda, as presented. We'll go move that to next week, Patty. That is everything there. And then we do have our calendar coming up. So we do have our next meeting, October 12th, our town board regular meeting at 7 p.m. And then October 17th and 19th, we have our department budget hearings. And I believe those will start at, I think, at 9 or in the morning and go to about 2. I forgot to write the times down.
It says 9:30.
9:30. So 9:30 on those 2 days we start.
The later the better.
The later, well, you need your beauty rest. And then
Not a sports run.
and then November 9th and November 16th, we have our town board work session, our town board regular meeting at a regular time at 7 p.m. And then December 6th was a Wednesday, our town board work session. And then December 14th at 7 p.m. our town board regular meeting. We do have some announcements that I would like to go over. Dean's Pond Fall Family Day, that's on Monday, October 9th. That's coming up here. That starts at 11 a.m. at Dean's Ponds. That's 38 Deansbridge Road in Somers. We'll have some donuts, cider, crafts, and playground. You can bring your lunch and stay for the picnic. Somers Community Senior Health Fair, that is Wednesday, October 11th. And that is 10 to 12, over 20 exhibitors. I think, where is that located? And that's sponsored by Matt Slater, New York State Assembly, and that is 3500 Hill Boulevard, Yorktown Heights, New York, and that's Jefferson Village Community Room. Sustainable Westchester Energy Smart Homes Workshop, learn to decarbonize your home, heating and cooling. That is the Thursday, October 12th, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Somers Library. E-Waste Recycling Day, that is October 14th, 9 to 1, Somers Intermediate School. $10 per car suggested donation. And then all proceeds will go to Keep Somers Beautiful. And then Somers Bulk Refuge Drop-Off, that is Saturday, October 14th to Saturday, November 11th. Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then Saturday, 7 a.m. to 12. Wind Waste Innovations, formerly Sitting Karting, and that's here on Route 100, 241. You can take that if you like, sir. Westchester County Mobile Shredder coming back to Somers. That is October 17th. That's a Tuesday, 10 to 1. And that's at Reese Park. Mom's Night Out. Embrace the... Yeah, well, this is embrace the moment, right? That's the moms helping moms. Yeah. That is for the women who, after we had that tragic incident here in Somers, these women started this movement, and that's their Mom's Night Out is going to be Thursday, October 19th, and that's going to be from 6 to 8, and that is going to be at Salsa Verde, and that's on Route 100 in Somers. For more information, you can contact our office. YMCA of Central and Northern Westchester Halloween Parade. That is going to be on the 22nd of October. That's a Sunday, 2:30 to the parade kickoff, and that's at Reese Park. Primrose PTA proudly presents Holiday Happiness. That's Saturday, November 4th, 10 to 4, and that's at Primrose Elementary School. And then the fifth annual Somers Track and Field Booster Turkey Trot. Thanksgiving morning, Thursday, November 23rd, 8 a.m. is a 5K time trial race. Shirts for the first 250 5K registered. And then at 9 a.m., it's a 1 mile fun run walk, medals for the finishers, and that's at Somers High School. And I believe my wife signed us up for that. So, so I believe we're doing that in the morning. And then that is all I have. And I know, Patty, you have a little bit of any fun facts for today? As the mic goes on.
Yeah.
Put the mic on for that.
Yeah,
Because I'm allowed to talk now. So I thought this was a very fitting fun fact for today. In 1947, Harry Truman gave his first televised address from the White House. And just a little tidbit of information, Australia is wider than the moon.
Australia?
That's random.
Australia's wider than the moon.
Okay.
It's wider than
That's
the moon.
pretty cool.
All right, go Earth.
It's really cool. It's wider than
Right.
the moon.
Excellent.
Anybody else, guys? Any fun?
Yeah, I just did want to mention, thank you, that despite my attempts to change it, this is next Thursday. You mentioned this Sustainable Westchester with the Energy Smart Homes Workshop. I know that I was told last night they have 19 people signed up for it to decarbonize your home heating and cooling, and it's at the library next 7 o'clock next week. It's about getting information, and having gone through that with my own house, it's really a good thing. You save money, you're more comfortable, you don't waste as much energy and emit carbon, and I was hoping they didn't put it on a town board night, but I guess
it is, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Next Thursday, so unfortunately.
Also on Friday, October 27th, is Night at the Races. It's a great night at Villa Barone. It's sponsored by the Somers Lions Club to benefit the Friends of Karen. Everybody knows somebody affected, so please come out and support.
Tom, anything?
Nope, I'm good.
Anthony?
I'm good.
And I know tomorrow there's a home football game. Pretty special night for a lot of the young football players and girls flag football teams out there. They get a chance to run out on the field tomorrow. And it's an amazing thing to see. Over probably there's 280 girls, I believe, in the flag football, and another 250, 260 boys. So, over 500 kids running on the football field from the end zone to the 50-yard line and running back. It's pretty nice to see in the enthusiasm everybody in the town. So if you have an opportunity to get out there and watch the game and support the young kids and cheer them on for running on the field, that would be that'd be a pretty cool experience.
Always fun to watch.
It is.
All those kids.
Especially for the first time when all those kids run out. For the first, they sprint so fast, and then you see their coaches walking. Almost don't run after them, but walking behind them and trying to keep up. And they have a little competition, so you could be first. So.
They sprint back as fast.
It's really cool.
I think also Patty Calva's Yankee hot stove has begun because the off season occurs. So meeting in her office. Whenever for all Yankee fans to
discuss the future.
Well, if nobody has,
I just want to say, go Jets.
We need a win.
Go Giants.
We need a win. They both need a win.
I mean, they looked almost okay last time.
They did. So if no one has anything else, I'll make the motion to close out tonight's meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Good night.
Well
Good
done.
night, everyone.